Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Satisfactory. I'm AxionEvolved, and before I get started, it's been a while. I'm sick. I'm still a little sick, but I think I did enough to get a video out to you guys. So I want to show you, I want to show you what I've been doing, right? So anyway, let's hop right into this. So last time we did a lot of this decoration and kind of base filling out, and I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. I think this is going to be cool, but the real jewel, right, was the storage room, and I am super happy with how it turned out. I don't know if we'll need more than what's in here, but yeah. So the next thing we got to do, obviously, is start filling it out. So let's hop into that. And in order to really showcase how we're going to do this, I have to use fly mode. There's too much verticality here to kind of traverse this thing without it. I'm going to build in, stairs and things like that eventually, but we don't have them yet. So you're getting fly mode, right? So now there's a couple things, right? This floor right here, you see we're directly under the storage room. This is going to be kind of a big deal in terms of logistics, right? So you can see here kind of what the idea is. I'm going to be utilizing sushi belts essentially, right? So what I want to do is I'm just going to be bringing down Mark IV lifts to the floor from everything, right? Like that. And we're going to be doing just a bunch of smart splitters. I'm probably going to go this way, though. Let's get rid of that. Right? So we're going to probably do something like this. Right? Are those lining up? I think they're lining up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have items come up in here, and they're just going to circle around, because we're going to have this on the other side as well, right? So something like that. And I'm going to be taking advantage of what little Alclad sheets that we have. And the main belt going around is going to be a Mark V belt. Just like this, right? So we're going to have Mark V going around to give us that higher throughput. But then coming off of the smart splitters is going to be the Mark III belts, right? So that's kind of the idea for up here. But how are we going to get items all the way up here, right? That's the next question. And to solve that, we have to look in this area. Now, I had originally thought that I was going to build train stations down here. And I did. I practiced. I kind of set up some mock stuff. I don't want it. I don't want it here, right? They were down here initially when we did the testing. And I thought, you know what? There's enough room for 3 train stations up here. I'm scrapping that plan, right? So we're getting rid of all of this. All of this. It's one train station, right? So we're scrapping all this. Now, what I am going to do is I'm going to be putting one train station over here. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, you have 3 outputs. Why are you going to do 1 input? And the reason I want to do 1 input is because I really want to kind of capture the sushi belt theme here, right? So what I want to do is I'm going to have one train station kind of like right in here. I'm going to kind of center it up. Now, something I want to take into account, right? I'm going to have this output. The train's going to go this way, right? So what I'm also doing is looking at where I'm lining up, right? Because we all know, we should all know, we've gone through this. Perfect 90s, you need a couple things, right? You can't do a 2x2, 3x3. I think is the smallest area you can do. Well, unless it just doesn't want to work for me. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it should line up right there, right here, right? I think you can do 2x2. That's kind of too short, right? So you could do a 2x2 or a 3x3. You could do a 4x4. You could do a 5x5. All that works, right? But I'm aiming for 3x3. So I want the rail to kind of go that way, right? And give myself a little buffer on each side, which kind of dictates where this placement can go. So what I need to do now, right? We have 8 total. Our longest train is 8 cars. So we're just going to put, I was not counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right? So we're going to have a single station with 8 platforms, 8 cargo platforms. This will ensure that our longest train can come in and offload, and then our shortest train can also come in and offload. No problem, obviously, right? And then what we're going to do is, I think I'm going to have... So, I'm leaving this space open for now. I don't really... I don't... You know, I could start putting down the boxes here, the industrial storage. But I don't think I want to do all that down here, right? I kind of want to do that up here because in my mind, right, I have an aesthetic that I want to go with, and you know, we're gonna need some foundations, just straight up, because I'm gonna utilize a trick that I've used before. I used it in the power plant, right, in the coal power plant. What I want to do, well, actually, I guess I need these up here also. So we're gonna put those there. I'll just use one for demonstration purposes, right? So what I'm going to do... Now, this... I mean, there's not actually going to be a floor hole here, but there will be one... Well, here, let's actually do this, right? If we're going to come all the way up here, if we're going to come all the way to the sorting floor, right, we just need to make sure we're on the same foundation. Normally, you cannot have a lift go that far. Is that lined up? I think we're good. We'll find out here shortly, right? So normally lifts have a height limit, right? Like, boom, you can only go up so high. However, if you have 2 floor holes that are perfectly placed, and I don't know if this one is. Oh, there you go. You can actually make a really long conveyor lift, just like that. And so I thought, you know, we have 8 stations here. I'm going to have 8 lifts on the front face here, kind of going up like this. I think it's going to add a lot of movement, and it's also going to be cool because the items are going to be random, right? It's going to be whatever train has offloaded, right? So that's kind of the idea for this front face here. So I'm going to... I guess if we're making notes on what we're doing here, right? We need to, number 1, make it so that trains can get from that level up to this level. Number 2, we need to complete this circuit and have it come back and be able to get down, right? So it's going to need to go up and down. And then number 3, we need to go up here and we need to make sure that we can actually sort everything out, right? So I think the first thing I want to do is let's get this train station kind of built out, and it'll kind of illustrate what my idea is a little bit better. So let me go ahead and boot to that. All right, and I think that's looking pretty good, honestly. Let me kind of show you. Oh, looks like I accidentally deleted some stuff here. But let me kind of show you what the idea is here, right? So we have boxes, and I put multiples because I don't know what my throughput's going to look like. Just straight up. I don't know, right? So I want some buffer space for each train station so that I can properly offload, right? So 3 boxes should be plenty, right? This is what? 1, 2, 3, so 8 times 6, so it's 48 stacks. Whatever, 48 times 3. So 144 stacks of stuff plus the train station. Now the train stations are item agnostic, just like the boxes, so they can have multiple items and they don't worry about it, right? But I did just come right out of the station and go up. I just thought that looks kind of cool, and it gives me this opening here, right? And you can see we're just kind of looping around this floor and getting right back in here. So I really liked the idea of having this just be a straight shot, so it's kind of, you know, offset from here. I could have run these, you know, anyway, but I decided to go with this. I think it's fine. And yeah, so we got this loop all done up, right? So that's good. Now the next thing we have to do, but you can see what I was talking about. I have single lifts going all the way to the top, right? And you don't need to start at a floor hole or anything. I just did that for a demonstration, but you know, you can have it go all the way up, just coming off of anywhere, right? Like this could be on the ground. I thought this was a good idea in the off chance. So I did this one first because I don't know if we're going to end up doing like a second output, right? But I wanted to leave myself space for that, because if I had gone from the bottom on the interior here, it would have got, I would have had more work to do in the long run, right? So that's kind of the idea here. And this is flexible enough to expand if necessary, right? Because the starter factory area is only given us up to a certain, let's say, technology level, right? Nothing more complex than motors. So I wanted to produce, like, there's going to be other stuff we have to make here, right? I'm going to do, let's say, weapon stuff, ammo, things of that nature, right? I'm going to do oil processing in this area, right? And all that stuff's eventually going to head up to this floor and store. But that's why I have all these other floors. So I need to make this design in such a way where I can, come up and expand. And if we go up here, you can kind of see like what the thought process is here, right? I like this little loop right here. I think it looks good. And as I mentioned, right, Mark 5 belts on the outside, Mark 4 on the inside, Mark 4 lifts, right? Eventually, when we get the Mark 6 belts, 1200, that's going to be the outer one. But I think that's quite a ways off. And we kind of have to be sparing with how we use the Mark 5 belts, because we do have a limit on the amount of alclad aluminum sheets that we possess, right? So that's the idea there, right? Okay, so I think the next natural step is to come up here and kind of get this filled out. Yeah, so let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so we're looking a little bit different here. I really, what I did is I just kind of hooked everything up, and this is really going to be kind of functioning as a loop, a sushi belt. If you're not familiar with that, it's really just a mixed belt that loops around and around and around, and then as space opens up, it's gonna take items off the belt and send them up into the storage area, right? Now, there's a couple things to consider with this design, right? Number one, we want to be able to add things in as necessary, right? So you can see here, I'll talk about this in a second, right? But there's spaces where we're taking stuff out. There's spaces where we're inserting things, merging back in here. And again, that's an important feature of what we're doing here, right? Now, some of you might be thinking, what are you going to do with all of the, like, if you back up, right? And so let's kind of look. Right now, I have it set so that overflow is going to go out to the right. So eventually what I need to do, and I have to keep kind of like belt speed in mind when I'm doing this, but what I'm probably going to do, and this isn't going to be solved in this episode, right? But I'm going to do something similar to this, where I have a bunch of outputs, right? Like a bunch of mergers to take the overflow. Now, what does it mean to overflow, right? So there's like a couple options that we could do here, right? We can, and again, this is just kind of one option, and I'm still kind of toying around with all of the possible options, right? So one option is that for each splitter, we handle overflow locally, meaning when screws back up to the left, if more screws come in and this is blocked, they will go right. They will not go straight, as far as I can tell. Right? Because I think any undefined, like this is defined, right? So I think this definition, the screw definition, applies here. So that means that any screws would go out to our overflow port and go on to a sink eventually, right? Now that's one option. The other option is if I don't specify anything going, or I don't have any belts, right? Then any other screws would just go straight, right? Now, what does that mean? So that means it would come all the way around, it would loop around and it'd come over here, and eventually we'd be at some point in the loop. And I have a programmable splitter here. But what I could also do, right? Well, hold on, let me back up here. What can that lead to? Well, it depends on what items we're getting the most quantity of. right? Screws are a good example because they stack, you know, in 500. So that means one stack of screws could saturate a line on its own. And we don't necessarily want that, right? So what that means is I could also have something over here. You know, I could have another smart splitter somewhere down the line, right? Where I go, that's any, and maybe left is overflow. So what is this? What is the difference between this setup and this setup, right? In this setup, we're looking specifically at screws, meaning if I get motors, they're never going to look at the left or right outputs. Well, actually, maybe they will. This is something I'd have to test, but I'm wondering if overflow would handle if anything backs up, right? Because here, the idea behind this is that this just lets anything go through. It doesn't care. But when the middle or center output is blocked, then it'll start sending things left, right? But for here, I wonder if the center output is blocked, if it would send anything right and not just screws. So I didn't plan this. This is just kind of a thought I'm having in the moment. So I don't know. You know, I really don't know how this could work. And then there's another issue to deal with, right? And that's belt throughput. So this is a 780 line, right? 780, I believe. Logistics. Yeah, 780. So these are 780s. These are 480, right? What I don't want to have happen is I don't want to necessarily make... Here, let me get rid of that. I don't necessarily want to make a giant merger line and use 480 belts because I don't know if that'll be fast enough, right? And you can imagine, in a world where we're bringing in a ton of resources or a whole train, like we're saturated up here, we're full, both in the storage containers and in the dimensional depot. We're full all the way to here. So that I can see a world where nothing is getting into the bins and it's all overflowing. I don't necessarily want a merger line that takes every single item type and then just feeds it into a single sink. You know, I think that could back up. So I have to figure out how, because I don't think I'm going to go with that design. I like this design because we already are using the smart splitters. So it makes sense to just use the already built-in overflow, you know? But I don't know. Maybe I'll group 6 of them or something. Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure out some kind of grouping that makes sense to send just a small amount to the sinks, right? And then, you know, make it kind of look nice. I might have to do, you know, some kind of like stackable thing here that goes all the way down and pops out because, again, you know, if I'm doing 6, right? If I'm merging 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? And this is the first one. Well, if I'm running the belt this way, right? Nothing else is getting on this belt. Then I can't very well. I mean, I guess I could, right? Like, you'd want to merge up higher. And yeah, this works, right? But then eventually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So this would be the last one in the line, let's say. Which means this one would be up higher, right? So I'd eventually have to have some kind of like conveyor pull tower that eventually takes however many I'm going to need to the sinks, which I think I'm going to put over here, by the way. I was thinking like somewhere over here I'm going to put sinks. And you'll notice like there's this right here, there's that stuff over there. I'll explain that in a second, but we kind of have to dodge all that while still leaving the space flexible. Because we're going to be doing a lot of sinking over here. And yeah, so that's kind of the idea for this that I'm working on, right? But let's talk about this over here. Let's go look at this programmable splitter. Now you'll notice that if you've never seen a programmable splitter, it's a little bit different than the smart splitters. The smart splitters have 3 options that you can do, right? You can set each port to be any specific item, or overflow, or undefined, or nothing, or any, right? So this is good for kind of like maybe up to 3 item handling. Programmable splitters, though, you see, you can get a lot more detailed about what goes where. And if you're, if you've been watching this series for a while, you might have remembered when I talked about wanting to do this. But over here, this guy is connected. If we go up here, this is a dump box. So the idea is that I can come up here, hit store all, empty my inventory, right? And when it's emptied, it'll go down here, merge in here, and filter out into the boxes or sync or whatever, right? But there's certain things like power slugs that I want to process, right? I don't want to keep power slugs themselves. I want what they make. And what do they make? Power shards. So that's where this kind of programmable splitter comes into play. And again, I could use this same splitter to add other stuff, right? Like say I want alien protein, or I want what do they call them? Like the animal parts. I don't even remember what they call them, honestly. Remains, right? Remains. So I could do all of the remains, and I can have that all go onto one line, and then split off again with smart splitters, right? Because as it stands right now, okay, let me remove these. As it stands right now, this is set so that anything will go straight, except for power slugs. They'll branch off. And then over here, I have a smart splitter, which sends them off into their own constructor, where they're going to make power shards, and I have sloops in here. Then those will merge and get back on the line, and I eventually have, I don't know, I think it's like over here maybe. If I'm motivated enough, at some point I'll label all these down here. But yeah, so, and then eventually power shards will go up here, right? So that's the idea. That's what I want to do. And I kind of did a small version of this over at the coal power plant, right? So in that building, in this one right here, we're making the biofuel and the biomass and all that stuff, right? Well, I can do a similar thing over here with all of the animal remains, all the animal protein, turn it into protein, turn it into DNA capsules. Boom, sync that. I could just do it automatically. Or I can have it turn into biomass where we make filters or cloth or fabric or whatever, right? I have mycelia, because we're going to start needing to make, if I put an equipment workshop down, we're going to start needing to make filters, because we're also going to need to eventually make let me see here. Oh no, it's up to the thing. But the uranium filters and stuff, right? Because we got to get rid of all the uranium we have up here. So this is the idea, and I still need to expand this out, right? For now, this should be set up to accept trains and send this stuff up. Now, what does that mean? That means we need to revisit the train spiral. And I'll tell you right now, as we're looking at this, I don't like these inner spirals. I don't like the way that they are spaced. I've been kind of messing with them, and I think for the sake of time, I'm going to end up doing away with these. So what does that mean? How are we going to get things in between the levels, right? Well, we're going to do something we've already done, something that I know how to do, and we're going to go back to our bread and butter, and I'm going to try to incorporate these type of spirals into the process here, right? So what does that mean? Let's kind of take a look here. Now, I've already kind of played with these, so I know what's going to work and what's not going to work. But eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a dedicated up and a dedicated down spiral. And the reason I'm going to do that is because if you look at the direction, because we're a right-hand drive, it makes sense to have a spiral go off this way. Because for up, right? Because it's already like in the natural direction of travel. It doesn't make sense to have one spiral function as an up and down, because you'd have to have the train going in the opposite direction. And I just don't like that it's going to work. Likewise, this is the natural spot for a down spiral, right? It's going to come off here, spirals. Well, it's going to spiral down and come off this way, right? So that's just kind of the natural flow of things. And it should be pretty easy. Like I already kind of have it laid out, right? So we're going to be about, let's see here. This is going to be the center. It's going to be something like this, right? And I'll level with you guys. I kind of figured this stuff out off, like in between filming here, right? So I already kind of know how it's going to be built. And there's a lot to consider when it comes to kind of spacing this out and making it kind of look and fit and go up the right elevation, because we have 36 meters. Right, you can't really see it through there, but if I go over here, 36 meters of elevation we have to get to. And it took some figuring to figure out, like I want the last, so I want this side, which is going, or actually, I'm sorry, for this one, it's this side. So where the train is going to leave and enter the spiral here, I want this part to be flat. And then I want this part, you know, where we're going to, oh, hold on, I need to make this work, right? I want this part to work, to be flat as well. Now, you'll notice, like, well, we're red, right? You can't do that. What you can do this. All you have to do is hit H. So H will kind of make it placeable, and then you put it in. So that's kind of the key here. Now, that means from here up, we have to spiral until eventually we hit, you know, the piece up here and all that, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to get this all set up, and then I'll kind of walk you through a little bit on how I did it all. Okay, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready to see kind of what I did? Boom. Now, you're looking at this post kind of getting rid of all the scaffolding and the stuff I made it, right? But it's very kind of straightforward, right? But you can kind of see how these are opposite spirals, right? And so it's very simple. Like, the idea is, like, this is an upper spiral, right? Because you're always going to the right in this design, right? And I think it looks not bad. Now, there are definitely some challenges here. And in fact, you'll notice I can't just continue this spiral all the way up, right? Because if we get kind of low, you'll see that, for example, this spacing is much bigger than this spacing, right? From this rail right here to this, it's a much smaller distance, right? And there is a reason for that, and it has to do with kind of like the irregular spacing that we had going up. So that means, though, that I wouldn't be able to take another rail over here because the train wouldn't clear it, right? If I put a train on here, let's say like right there, and I were to bring this out, something like you'll see. I mean, you saw the clipping there, but obviously, like, it'll just clip through the floor, and I can't be having that. So what I'm going to do is over here, you'll notice I'm doing another set of spirals, right? And I'm doing the same setup where I have kind of like a central location in between, right? The other reason, this is what, like seven foundations long, and it'll clear perfectly. Over here, I do not have 7 foundations of space. You know what I mean? Like, I could not go out 7 because we would be well within the building, right? So this kind of just worked out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have, and again, on the right side of the track or of the space elevator, this will be an up, this will be an up, right? So it's going to go this way. And then on the left side, this will be a down, right? Because, again, the direction of travel, right? So you'll be coming in this way. Now, I'm going to alternate this, right? So this will be from this level to this level. And then from this level to here, we're going to go back to this side. And then the last one will be from there to there, right? This should mean, now, we've only got one train line that's going to be using this. Well, I guess technically 3 trains, right? But only one feeder line. Eventually, we're going to make it so that any train can use this, which is why we're doing all of this together, right? Like, I'm going to put an exit from this train onto this spiral. And you'll notice the way we have things spaced, I have access from this face. I kind of have access from the front, and I'd have access from somewhere over there, like in between if we needed to, right? That's on purpose. That's the whole idea, as well as from this back face, right? So I want essentially any train to be able to get to anywhere else. Like, I want to be able to take this train, like this guy right here, and send it over there if I wanted to, or over there, or take one of those trains. Maybe the steel train, I'm going to have go to a steel factory somewhere else, right? The whole idea is flexibility, right? So that's kind of what we're going with here. Now, it kind of looks like crap, I think, because it's not decorated yet. So I'm going to do that real quick. And we're going to make this, at least this stretch, look pretty. And I know you're looking at this and you're thinking like, he did nothing. And you're absolutely right. I did not touch this part yet. This is not going to be in the scope of this video, but I did start working on this part, right? And so we're using kind of like our normal, what I call normal rail design, right? This is kind of how I want the whole world's rails to look. And I think it's a pretty good pattern. I really like it. I've got a lot of support going down. You know, we can even accommodate the curves pretty nicely. And then that just leads up into these train spirals. Now, I think this looks a lot better than just having it be naked, right? So, I'm also doing some experimenting, right? I'm experimenting with making at least this lower level look like it's supported by the spiral. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make these spirals themselves look supported well. I'm going to eventually try. I'm going to try to do this, but I don't know how yet. And once I start kind of feeling good enough to stream again, that's where I'm going to be working on it, right? So if you're interested in following that, in the description is the Twitch channel where we primarily stream, right? So I think we're almost like perfectly ready to run some trains, right? So I removed all of the signaling because I want to kind of work on this together. So let's go ahead and here, do I have a, let me get out of here. No, Alt, there we go. Okay, I do. So let's say, so we want a path signal. We could do that here. And a block signal. Okay, so that makes all of this spiral one big thing, right? So now what does that mean? I'm going to need another path signal over here. Let's just do it right here in the middle. Right about there. And then I think I need a block signal right here. Because we've got a couple things going on, right? We want a train coming in can go one of two directions. And so what we're also going to do, I think when you split, you don't care about path signaling, right? You care about block signaling. Now I want you on this side. So I'm just going to do this. And do this. Try to get these lined up as possible, but... Okay. So we're blocking all the way up here. But for this part, we want a path signal, right? So let's do that, like... I don't know. Here. I think this also needs to be a path signal. Here. And then we do a block at the end. So maybe not... Well, I mean... Well, that's not bad. It looks a little funny, but it's fine. And then what we'll do is I'll just like split this into blocks. And I'm going to do both of these at the same time. And ideally they kind of line up, right? I'd love the blocks to be all the same. Now, for here, we are going to split, so we need a block signal, right? So you're a block, you're a block. And then I'll just kind of come over here. Just kind of do this. So it's so finicky. Okay, so block, block. This is going to need to be a path. This is going to need to be a block. And then this isn't going to be here, but this is going to be a block. Wait, okay, hold on. Let's think here. This is going to need to be a path. No. When you're splitting, you don't care. It's when you're merging that you care. Okay, so let's make this. This is where this is going to come in. So let's put a block like right here. So that's a block. If it's going right, it doesn't care. So let's put another block like right. No, yeah, right there. This needs to be a path because it's merging. This in the middle needs to be a path. Just like that, right? Okay, so here's what I need to do to make this work. I think it's having an issue because it's not... Because it's a path and there's no path. I think if I put this in, and I put another path signal just like right here. For now, does that work? It does not. Okay, hold on. Does it want this to be a path? Okay, what's the issue here? Signal loops into itself. Is it because I don't have a block? Okay, let's change this back to a block. And let's change this into a block. Or add a block. So finicky. So if we do that, okay, let's think here. Signal loops into itself. So all of that is fine. This is a path signal. Signal loops into itself. Why is it saying that? If I make this, I know I tried making this a block, but does it care? So this is going to come in this way. This is going to come in this way. They're going to look to see. So I think this can still be a block. But how does signal loop into itself? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to turn this into a block and it should be fine. Why is this not fine? I just need to put a new block? What's going on here? Huh. Oh, maybe it has something to do with this split in the track here. I might have to be a little bit more deliberate about that. Okay, so then we're good here. This is a block. Let's put another block here. So that's a block. This is a block. And then we just need a bunch of block signals going down, right? So okay, I guess we're going to go there, since it seems to just want to be there. And that's a block, right? Any issues? Okay, yeah, see, like this is where it's having an issue. I might have to put it like, well, like that's a block. Let's make that a block. Let's make this. We'll need a path here and a path here. Path. And I think it's using these two things as blocks. So I think this is actually fine. What are you having an issue with? Block has no exit signal? What do you mean? Oh, because it's facing the wrong direction. How about you do that? And then you'll probably find. Okay. Okay. So I think this is fine. Honestly. I'm going to put a few more signals down here. I'm going to configure the train stations. And I think the last thing we do is we just kind of run this and see how it all works out. Ideally, we're getting stuff up there by the end of this episode. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so I'm just going to start here. And we'll start with kind of the first, like, steel train, right? Which is 3 long. Okay, so this is going to go to steel out 1, steel out 2, main storage in. Right? Turn on self-driving. Let it go. Okay, the next one is going to be, let's say, starter 1. 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to put 8 cars on both of these. Okay, and you're going to go from starter 1 out to main storage in. Turn on self-driving and leave it. And then when this one goes, this is so crazy, you guys. I'm like freaking out right now. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, you're going to go starter out 2, main storage in. Save, turn on self-driving, let it go. Okay, so now I think we just wait, right? I know I'm flying around, and I know it's kind of crazy and kind of cringe, but I want to be able to move around and see this stuff. Okay, so we have steel already kind of doing its thing. And it looks like starter 1 has an extra freight car, so we'll just get rid of that. Okay, steel going to steel out 2. This should just be coming back. Look at that. We have stuff flowing. Excellent. Starter 2 is just now loading. Okay, let's go back to the spiral and see how that all works over there. Okay, so it looks like starter 1 is the first train to come through, followed by steel. Okay, so it's slowing down just to check. And it's got the green light. Let's see how... Oh, is Steel already over here? Okay, Steel is hot on his tail. And Starter... Looks like Starter 2 is coming as well. Look at that, though. Oh, man. Look at them. Look at them. I think they'll spread out, too, as time goes on. But look at that. Starter 2, which has the 2 empty front cars. But look at it. Multiple trains on the spiral. And then the big key is we don't want any crashes. That's the big thing, right? And look at this. Starter 1 coming in hot. Steel 2 on the loop. Starter 2. God, I don't remember, man. Okay, so one thing we need to do now. Sorry, I got to turn flyback on. We need to watch it offload and then be able to quickly go up. I'm just making sure there's enough spacing here. Okay, so this should wait right here. And then this should queue up right here. Right? Hopefully. Now, you could argue that there's inefficiencies in doing it this way. And I wouldn't doubt you. But this is our first load of stuff coming back to the main base. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have items. We have items. Yes, I gotta fix that. Oh, it's ruining the debut, man. Okay. So what is it waiting on? Block has no exit signal. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. Good thing I saw that. Okay, so let's go up here. This is what I was talking about, though. Look at this. Why do you have nothing? Oh, you're the 8th station and you just don't have anything. Okay. And look at this. We have our items on the sushi belt going up. This is what I was looking forward to. Oh my goodness. We shouldn't have anything. I believe I got everything from any of the trains kind of set up here. Look at, we got rods coming over here. But see, this is what I was talking about, right? The potential for backup exists. Which is also why we have those buffers down there. Now, eventually we're going to get to the point where I think the items are going to be not produced fast enough over there, assuming we use them. And that's kind of another nice thing about this. We could totally siphon items off of this for construction elsewhere, you know? But let's go into the storage room. Oh, and look at this. Look at this. We have movement. This is what I wanted to see. This right here. Look at that. Oh, man. It's beautiful. And then I don't think we'll have any screws in here yet because it's still filling up the dimensional depot. But this is what I wanted to be able to see. And eventually, you know, once everything is kind of saturated, you'll just have the belts right there. And I mean, look at this. Now we also have all the steel stuff. You know? Starter 2 is out. All of this stuff should be... Well, yes, here we go. This is exactly what I wanted to see. Oh, man. And look at that. Trains going out. There wasn't enough room, though. So, something to consider. Maybe you want to upgrade these belts when we get a chance. But, man, that is beautiful. So, anyways, guys, as this train leaves, I want to just thank you guys. We'll call the episode here. I'm super happy how this is turning out. I hope you guys are excited to see this kind of come into life more often and kind of doing its thing. But yeah, anyways, guys, sorry for the delay. You know, I'm still sick. You could probably hear it in my voice, but I wanted to at least get this out to you guys, so I'm not leaving you all high and dry. So, anyways, guys, thank you all so much, and we'll see you in the next one.